You're listening to Rewatch Culture, the podcast where we circle back and talk about our favorite Black TV shows that raised us, healed us, and angered us in many ways, but they are always going to live rent-free in our minds. I'm your host, Shanaye, your resident elder millennial and professional rewatcher. Let's get into it. Hey, y'all. And welcome to another episode of Rewatch Culture. Today, we're diving into episodes 13 through 15 of A Different World, Season 1. So the episodes gave plenty of drama, tons of comedy, and gave us those life lessons. First of all, episode 13, Whitley Gilbert says unisex bathrooms led to the fall of Rome. We can always count on Whitley Gilbert to say something just wild. And apparently, the bathroom situation was also leading to the fall of the Hillman girls' patience. When I tell you that they were over it, they were over it. There was always men in the bathroom, and they're rightfully so thinking about, I want to be in my space and not worry about having to always look good, because as women, we just want to look how we look around other women. We don't want to have to worry about a man seeing us in our natural state. So I understood why the girls were feeling how they were feeling. But the big thing here is Lettie Bostic is back. Okay, so Denise is inviting everybody to this talk from Miss Lettie. Lettie used to go to Hillman, and she left and went to Paris to live her best life. And she returned with stories that had the students absolutely captivated, as she was talking about, saying that she had to be a music student with the Gestapo. The camera was just panning across the audience, and these students were locked in. Okay. Now, Miss Stevie, who was played by Loretta Devine, ran off to get married. Pause, because didn't even realize she was dating. How did you just run off to get married and that's how you were done with the show? Jaleesa is filling in as the new resident director. After Miss Lettie does her speech, one of the men, I want to say it was the dean, is like, hey, we're looking for a new resident director. And Lettie's talking about how she wished she had finished her degree. Lettie lets the dean know, like, these girls like me now, but once I become their resident director, they are not going to be feeling me like that. She was like, I'll think about it. She ends up deciding to take on the job. So when she comes in, the girls are like, well, this is about to be a good time, because they think Lettie is, she was a bit of a wild child. She was living her best life. So they think she is about to let them do the same thing. But she quickly shuts that down. She's like, no, the rules are in force and you better not be coming back in here after midnight. So she was not joking around. And Whitley, of course, comes through with a one-liner again. And she says, well, I guess she's hoochied her last coochie. Okay. And you could tell that Whitley made herself laugh when she said this. She was absolutely tickled. And honestly, so was I. But during this dorm meeting, the girls are going back and forth, reading each other for filth. Somebody called somebody a peanut head. Lettie told Whitley that she's had a lifetime affair with hearing herself talk. She let Maggie know that she's indecisive. All right. And Kim Wayans' character, she said, baby, she read her like a book, cover to cover. I actually need to start using that phrase in my regular life, because I just really like the way that sounds. This dorm meeting runs amok. Then Jaleesa comes downstairs to talk to Lettie, because Lettie leaves. Jaleesa's like, basically let me run the meeting. Lettie's like, okay, do what you want to do. She leaves. Jaleesa comes down to talk to her. I thought Jaleesa was out of pocket and so rude. I'm sorry. I understand that you're upset and you feel a way, but at the end of the day, that's still your elder, so you need to show some respect. Now, Lettie, on the other hand, she was harsh. The things she was saying were true, but there's a way that you need to communicate with people to not hurt their feelings. The girls come up with this idiotic plan to basically drive Lettie out of there. So they have Maggie coming up and down the stairs saying, oh, I need to do my laundry. Oh, I won't do my laundry. Oh, I need to do it, to show that she's indecisive. Then Jaleesa comes with a bullhorn. Then you've got Whitley and Millie. Lettie said Millie has no spine, which she didn't lie. Let's be for real. And Whitley is singing because she likes to hear herself sing. So they're doing all this, and Lettie gets up and she claps, and then she goes to her room, because, like, I'm not about to fight with you girls. You guys got me messed up. The girls think they won, and they think they've got Lettie to leave. And then Millie throws a soda, and it breaks the TV. The dean gets there, and Lettie covers for them. She's better than me, because I wouldn't have covered for them at all. Y'all are grown women. You want to play games? Okay. play games, win stupid prizes. That's where we're at with this. But Lettie covered for them. And then the girls eventually talked and they came down and gave Miss Lettie the money to replace the TV. And Lettie let them know I wasn't planning on replacing it in the first place, which Whitley said, see, I told y'all she was not planning on replacing that TV. So Lettie and the girls eventually get to understand each other and they're off on a good foot, which is amazing. I like that they've introduced Lettie. It feels like she's brought a different dynamic to the dorm. So I'm excited to see how this will play out as we continue to get through these episodes. But that was episode 13. Now let's get into episode 14. First off, referencing when Lettie told Millie that she didn't have a spine, it's true. Whitley treated Millie like she was a servant, okay? She was waiting on her hand and foot. I just did not like that at all. I wanted Millie to stand up. Like, let me shake Millie and have her stand up, okay? Because what is this? But we meet Cougar, who is in the classes, and she ends up writing Denise's paper. And then because she wrote Denise's paper, she asks Denise if she can sleep in Whitley's room. Now, let me rewind here. Whitley says that she broke her foot. So she hobbles in to the pit. She has Millie going to get her ice and all the things. Then she's like, I need to go to the infirmary. So Dwayne and Ron lock arms in this way where Whitley can sit on top of their arms and they carry her to the infirmary like a princess. Listen, Whitley said she was always going to be who she was, 10 toes down, was not changing. Cougar thought that Whitley would be at the infirmary all night. She asked Denise if she could sleep in her bed. And Denise is like, absolutely not. Whitley will kill me and you. So she says she can sleep on the couch. So Cougar is sleeping on the couch and she's kind of tossing back and forth. So then she decides, you know what? I'm going to look at the mailboxes, figure out what room is Whitley's, and then I'm just going to go sleep in her room because she's not going to be here. She goes upstairs in the room and she's kind of looking around and she sees that Whitley has a towel with her name on it and silk sheets and all the things. She gets in her bed and she goes to sleep. Miss Whitley and Millie come back to the dorm and they go up to her room. She finds Cougar asleep in her bed and she starts screaming at the top of her lungs. Whitley had the scream heard around the world. Everybody kind of comes in her room and they're like, what's going on? What happened? And Whitley says that Denise's unbathed ragamuffin of a friend was sleeping in her bed. Again, with another read. Unbathed ragamuffin. Now, why did you have to say that about that girl? Whitley is a menace, okay? But we learn more about Cougar's backstory. She hasn't had a roof over her head since she was 15 years old. Both of her parents are gone, and her dad named her after the car he would have bought if she hadn't been born. That is so much trauma for one person to handle, okay? It's just a lot, and it's not something I thought about when I first watched this show. But now, as I've gotten older as an adult and I've met people who've gone through things, you have empathy for people and you feel for them. And I just wanted to see Cougar win. Denise and Dwayne are kind of pleading for Cougar's case to get her into the school because she's so smart and she's just been down on her luck and she needs some help. They're talking to Lettie, and Denise says she speaks 3 languages, and Dwayne says, and she's dogged me in every one of them. That line took me out. That was great. That was my favorite line of this episode. And another thing I want to say here is I didn't like that Cougar was in this episode and then we never saw her again. I think she would have been a great reoccurring character to just see how she interacted with the friend group, to see how she integrated herself into the friend group, and to see, if she was able to finish school and get her degree and, do the things that she wanted to do. Cougar had so much potential and she deserved better. I wish she would have stuck around. But that's episode 14. Now let's get into episode 15, all about Valentine's Day. The episode opens with the students dancing to I Want Her by Keith Sweat. Listen, that song is a classic. It is still a bop today. Keith Sweat is one of them ones, okay? He gave us Twisted, Nobody, Make It Last Forever, hits on top of hits. So I love that they played that. Now, Mr. Dwayne Wayne, he's, doing his thing on the radio show, and he's reading this love letter pretending to be Daryl Walker, okay? And he's like asking women to meet him in the library. And the girls know that it's him. The only one that doesn't know it's him is Whitley. And Jaleesa says to her, Daryl Walker, I think he's from the Charleston Walkers, the ones with money. You could just see the dollar signs that aligned in Whitley's eyes. Okay, you could just see them. Eyes turned green. Now she's interested. But of course, she's not going to send herself. She sends Millie. And Dwayne wasn't sending himself, he sends Ron. So Ron and Millie meet in the library, and there's just an instant connection with them. Those two are sharing their eyeglasses with each other and flirting like two kids at a summer camp, okay? They are in the pit making lovey-dovey eyes to each other straight out of a cartoon, okay? It was actually cute. I enjoyed it. Now, Miss Lettie over here, she's got a different situation going on. She has an old friend named Marcus who calls her, and Denise is taking the call, and Lettie's like, I'm not here. I'm not trying to see this dude, okay? They used to date back in the day, and it just didn't work out, and she left him. Marcus is back, and they start fighting with each other. They've been in the same room about 5 minutes here. And my rewatch revelations for the week is going to come from this scene, because Marcus is trying to play in her face, and Lettie lets him know that she was happy with him, but I'm also happy without you. And as a 38-year-old woman, that spoke to me because I feel like when we are growing up, society basically tells you that your life isn't complete unless you get married and you have kids, and not everybody wants to do that, and that's okay. But the biggest thing that I've learned now as a grown woman is that you have to learn to be happy with yourself and love yourself before you let somebody else in. Because if your whole life is depending on somebody else making you happy and someone else loving you, you are going to be let down. You've got to be comfortable. You've got to find joy. You have got to love who you are, because sometimes you will be left standing alone, and you've got to figure out like, hey, how am I going to get through this? So her saying, I'm happy with you and I'm happy without you, baby, that was everything, okay? That was the revelation. Mr. Dwayne Wayne is all sad and whatnot, and he's playing the Tracks of My Tears by the iconic Smokey Robinson. Talk about another legend, okay? Motown classic. Whitley and Dwayne's scheming worked out because Ron and Millie end up liking each other, and they're all cutesy and walking into the pit and in love and whatnot. So shout out to them. Denise decides to take this note to Dwayne because she thinks Lettie and Marcus still like each other, and she's trying to play matchmaker. She gives Dwayne this note and says, oh, it's from LB, and it goes out to Marcus. So Marcus hears it, and he comes over, and Lettie's like, boy, I didn't see anything, so what are you talking about? But they get to talking, and they have an honest conversation. Marcus is married, which I didn't think he was going to be because I got very much he was flirting with Lettie vibes, but maybe I was wrong. The biggest tea is that he says he named his daughter after Lettie. And Lettie's all like, oh my gosh, what an honor. I can't think of a better way to have your last name, but I had thoughts and questions. So my first thought was, sir, does your wife know? Is she aware that you named y'all's child after a woman that you used to love? Like, I get it. If you named the child after your mom, your sister, like a family member that passed away or something, that makes sense. But somebody you were in love with, maybe I'm petty, but it's a no for me, dog. So miss me with that. Try Jesus, don't try me. But question for my listeners here, how would you feel if your spouse named your child after someone that they used to love? And I'm not talking about someone that they used to love that has passed on. Someone that they used to love that's actually still alive and well, that they can get in contact with if they wanted to. I need to know. Maybe my thinking's off, but that's where I'm at. That wraps up episodes 13 through 15 of A Different World. These episodes were giving me everything I needed. I really love the introduction of Miss Lettie Bostic, so I'm excited to see how she continues throughout the rest of the episodes. And if you're enjoying this rewatch, make sure you're subscribed, leave a rating, and share the show with someone who you know loves a good classic Black TV show. I'll see you next time for episodes 16 through 18. Until then, if you want to keep up with the show, follow me on the Instagram. Ooh, I sounded like a boomer when I said that, the Instagram or YouTube. See y'all next time. And before you dip, go ahead and leave a rating and review. It really helps me grow, and it costs absolutely nothing to show your girl a little bit of love. For more nostalgia and chaos between episodes, though, which, reminder, drop every Sunday, follow at Rewatch Culture Pod on all your socials. Thanks for joining me today.